first functionality is the span detection. So it's a new tab that you can add. It's working like for all the other tabs, so you have to set it up in the admin module. Then when you select a connection, it allows you to see where the pipelines are hanging compared to the bathymetry or to the maps that you have. So here you can see, for example, the pipeline there compared to the floor here. And to access this, then you can set up some values there, and there is a full documentation available that you can ask to anyone to the customer success to help you to fill correctly all those fields. The crossing detection modules is to use on fields when you want to know where your pipelines are crossing. So you have this new tab here where you can choose to process the crossing module, and that will go through all your field and try to find all the places where pipelines or connections are crossing. Then you can have a kind of spreadsheet here saying which connection are crossing and what are the coordinates. And if you click on this blue point, then it's zooming on the field on the crossing, on the exact location of the crossing. And of course, you can export to a CSV all this data with the crossing and the coordinates. So that's allowing you to take a look at all the coordinates. So next one is about the wall thickness estimator. So for the wall thickness, it's something that helps you to calculate the base thickness you want for your connection. So that's working exactly the same as it's working for crossing or for the span detection. It's a module that you can add. For every module, when it's set up in your admin session, if you don't see it in the different tabs here, it's because you need to add it by the layout. So in the layout, you will see all the different tabs that you're allowed to add in your project. So span estimation, the crossing modules, and the wall thickness will be there when they are available for you. Then here you can input some values. So just to let people know that this integration is working only if you have the right metadata for project and connection. So that's a kind of pool of metadata, standard metadata that are used by Futuron, and you can use the wall thickness only if you are using those metadata. So you have metadata linked to your project. So it's something more general, like the elasticity, the seawater density, or anything. So that's global metadata for the project. And then you have metadata for connections. So maybe I will just select connection. Then you have metadata linked to your connection with pressure, diameter, and anything. So you need to have all those specific metadata to allow you to run the wall thickness. So this, depending on the values that you input on your metadata here and here, then you will have an estimation of the wall thickness in your connection, and you can set it in your connection. When your connection is disconnected from an asset, you have red outlines all around. And some customers are using a connection that they upload by importing from somewhere, from a file or for anywhere. And most of the time when you are importing your connection, they are not connected to any asset when you import them. Then you just have on your field like maybe 20, or on big project, maybe 100 connections that are disconnected, and you have those red outlines everywhere, and it's making making people confused about the field because it's difficult to see. So now you can go on the setting part. So when you uncheck this box, then your connection doesn't have these red outlines anymore, but you can see in the tree view right now a new option that make the icon for connection red to keep the information that the connection is disconnected. So you don't have the red outlines anymore, but you have the icon in red. And if you put it back, then here it's coming back. So that was the functionality to disable or enable the red outlines. The next option is to copy-paste metadata to segments. So to demonstrate this one, maybe I need to go to the setup because it may be a question that comes to support, because it's working only, and I say only, if you have the same metadata on your connection and on your segment. So I set up two new metadata that are inner diameter and outer diameter. So I will put those one on umbilical. Then if I want the copy pasting on the segment to work, then you need to go on the connection segment type and create a segment type, for example, and assign the same metadata, because it will copy paste the value only if you have the same metadata on everything. So now you can use the copy pasting for connection. So if I go on the umbilical, I have inner diameter and outer diameter, so I can put some values. Okay, should be 18. And if I create a segment on this one, and I go on the umbilical, then I can copy metadata. And if I go on my segment, then I can paste my metadata. Okay, and I need to assign a type, sorry. And now I can paste the data and I get the value. So if you are creating multiple segments on the same connection and you need to input all the value that are on the main connection or on another connection, you can copy paste your metadata on all the segments. The only condition is to have the same metadata linked to segments, that the metadata you add linked to the connection. I can create a circle there. And now you can display outlines for shapes. That was not possible before. So on this shape, if you go to the common shape, then you can choose to render the outline, and you can, of course, select the color. I can put this one. It's easier to see. And now in your project, you have these outlines. So it can be used maybe for different status of the shape or different kind. If it's a restriction area, you can maybe put a red outline, or if it's I don't know, you can put some red, green, or anything you want to just give more information about the shapes. So if you have multiple layers, for example, that are in the same location, but are on top of each other, right now the default function of FieldTwin was to take the upper one and height sample everything you have on the layer that was on the top. So now you can choose if you have intersection or if you have multiple layer in the same coordinates, you can choose which one you want to height sample your field. So for example, for this one, I took the manifold. You can go here and then you can choose, I have one bathymetry and I have multiple reservoir there, and I can choose on which one I want to height sample my manifold. So if I choose maybe the reservoir, then it is this one, and it has been going down to the reservoir instead of being on the bathymetry there. And then if I remove this one and I height sample back then it's up again. So you can set up any information that you want, like temperature, pressure, or any other information. And then here you're supposed to see a gradient with different color and different height if you are displaying some chart or anything, and you can have the information going all along your connection. And the effect will be something like what you have in the release notes. Next option is to export connections and shapes on the HHP files. That's something that was asked for by customer. So now you can just right-click your shape and export it on this new format. You can also multi-select, of course, and have the multi-selection exported as HP file. So the last one is that we reintroduced the asset animation that we lost. So now if you select some animated asset in your field, then you can use the play button here to play the animation. So it will make, for example, the wheel turning and everything. So this is an easy one, and it's just maybe more used if you want to share your work and show your project to someone. So this is more maybe for admin user, but yeah, we can still show it. And that's something that was asked for the standard metadata. So now if you go on metadata definition, you can set up a metadata definition with asset type. And in this asset type, you're now able to select which particular asset is your default value. And you can create some recursion in this one. So you can have as many different metadata displayed as you want, and you can start to create quite a complicated logic and start to build some smart models with asset going on asset going on asset. So I linked this metadata to some templates, and now you can see that for these templates for slots, I have my metadata asset on this one. And if you are choosing the XMT and you choose also the XMT by default, then you can create a recursion and use it as much as you want.